Retired NYPD Inspector Paul Morrow is here. He's also an attorney and a Fox News contributor, of course. Paul, great to have you here. Thank you for joining us. I want to play this soundbite from Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray, who was very articulate in his description of this case. He added a lot of detail this week on it. Here's just a piece of that. Watch.
Roommate, why? Robinson, why did I do it? Roommate, yeah. Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence.
Paul, I'm curious just what you think of these messages. When you listen to the language in them, the back and forth between these two individuals, the way he talks so openly about, well, I left the rifle, I got to go pick it up, there's one squad car, he thinks he's going to get away, which seems ridiculous at that point. What do you hear in all of this dialogue?
So I know there is speculation that the whole thing feels a little contrived, right? And that the alleged shooter was kind of telegraphing, I did it and I did it by myself. In other words, don't look at my roommate. And that could be an element of that. For law enforcement purposes right now, from what I can glean from having been out there and from what I hear, law enforcement at this point doesn't really care. Here's why I say that. Because they have the roommate cooperating. And you can do all the forensics. You can dump the phone, you can dump the computer, you can do interviews around the center. But having somebody who lived with the suspect, who can tell you their mindset, what they did, how they did it, et cetera, is gold. They may still move forward to arresting the roommate, and they may hold it in abeyance unless something really breaks. But from what I'm hearing, they have the roommate where they want him. They want him cooperating. And so right now, they're focusing on the stuff that the prosecutor put out, that narrative. While from what I see, what I suspect is going on is as they harden up the state case, the feds are operating around the fringes. They're doing a lot of the technical work to see if there's a group, if there are connections to other people of concern. And that's what I think the sort of the delegation of duties likely is.
Let's watch Kash Patel, the FBI director, on that.
So what we're doing, we've already done is sort of legal process, not just on Discord, so that the information we gather is sustained and held in a evidentiary posture that we could use in prosecution.
I see the public reports that the Discord thread had as many as 20 additional users.
It's a lot more than that, and we're running them all down.
Your thoughts on that?
For this, the FBI is great. I mean, this is what they do better than anybody. They have the federal reach. And I'll give an example that we've all heard about. A couple of months ago, we had the person who blew himself up at a fertility clinic, a guy named Barkis. He died, so everybody thought the case was over. The FBI stayed on it. They went into the digital stuff. They found out there was a second piece unapprehended who, in fact, had supplied the explosives. That person had fled overseas. That all happened in California. Lo and behold, whatever it was, about a month later, that person comes back into America. They grab him at JFK, all the way here in New York. The point is, as they pursue the state murder case, which is where it is now, the federal government is going to continue to press in all the atmospherics, reaching out as far as they can to see if there's something else going on. And that could mean the whole thing does go federal at some point. But right now, it looks like it's cleaner as a state murder case.
I want to play one more. This is Nate Brooksby, the Washington County Sheriff. Watch this.
He was fearful of a SWAT team hit on his house, or he was fearful of being shot by law enforcement. So part of the negotiation and getting him to bring himself in was that we would treat it as delicate and as soft as possible. He was sitting on a very comfortable couch with a water bottle in his hand, not restrained. He was again cooperative, somber, quiet.
I find it in terms of the profile very interesting, because when it came to this part, he's listening to his parents.
Yeah.
And I can't even imagine what this was like for these parents. I mean, when your son goes just so allegedly, so completely off the rails and shoots someone in cold blood, and they're talking about the rifle, it's grandpa's, he's upset, it's going to be missing, that's how they'll know. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, what a sort of Shakespearean drama, right? The father had to say, look, you're going to turn yourself in. And my information I had when I was out there pretty early was the fact that the family was very fearful, and now it's out, that the police were going to end up doing a dynamic entry. And if you put yourself where the parents are, they jump to the fact that somebody else is going to recognize you. They got very good, clear images out very fast. Somebody in the neighborhood, somebody who went to school was going to say, hey, I know who that is. Then they tell the cops. Next thing you know, the cops are coming in hard through the door. Maybe the kid runs, makes a furtive movement, and then you got something you don't want. So the feeling was that let's let's do this right. They made a call to a local person who was retired law enforcement who had to connect to that sheriff's office. They did everything right. They got him in safely. Now you have the perp alive, as opposed to what we've had in some other circumstances. They did this right.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like online he had this sort of off world that he was living in. And then when he's with his parents, he seems to sort of come back over to, you know, their rationale about how they should handle this. It's just so terrifying, I think, as a parent, how far down the hole some of these young men mostly are going. And this family, you know, notices something is off, but then, you know, to be in the middle of this is just unbelievable. And everybody, I think, would like to see a federal charge because they want to see everything possible put to the test.
Yeah. Listen, we have a tendency to think the federal charge are bigger and better.
Right.
It's not always the case.
No, it might be best.
Fits. And in this case, right now,
Yes.
it looks better.
All right, Paul, thank you, as always. Great report.